The first generation of Pokemon effectively established everything that Pokemon is or will ever be. There's a few things that have been expanded upon, but for the most part, that's where all of our consistency is coming from. However, in the second generation, we saw the introduction of the Dark and Steel typings, so it at least showed that there can be growth for these typing expansions, for new designs, new styles of Pokemon, and just a rewriting of how Pokemon typings interact with each other. However, it was 4 generations until we got the fairy typing in the 6th generation, and that really shook things up a bit. But now with the 7th generation around the corner in Pokemon Sun and Moon, it leaves the question, is there any room for a new Pokemon type? That was the 4 generation gap there for a reason. Is there any way to expand past fairy? Is there already enough balance with all the typings? Now, I'm going to come in true realistify fashion. My realistic approach is just, nah, we already have enough typings, honestly. I feel that there's great balance, we cover pretty much everything, and that there just isn't a need to complicate things anymore. I feel 18 is a nice, even number, maybe pushing it up to 20, but how are you going to squeeze in 2 new typings without cluttering it? Also, the typing representation, you know what? Let's just talk about this. Let's go into all of the reasons a bit more in detail, because there's always that one guy on those, top 10 what I want to see in the next Pokemon games kind of list. There's always that one guy in the comments that says he wants to see light Pokemon in Pokemon Z version, or now 7th generation with Pokemon Sun and Moon, and I try to respond to them, but it generally doesn't turn out too well, as YouTube comments do. But that did inspire me to come up with the 3 typings that are most plausible for becoming an actual typing in Pokemon, and then this video is just going to go and debunk why they can't be. First off, let's start with the fairy typing. Light typing. Because that's the problem with the light typing. It is the fairy typing. Fairy is light. I don't understand why people are trying to accept that both are possible, because first off, it would just nerf Darks into oblivion. There's no way to make Dark weak to anything else, especially when Fairy is light. The similarities are too much. Light beats Dark. Fairy is just Game Freak's twist on it, They don't want to be super predictable and have a light and a dark typing. That's kind of lame. Fairy, that's a lot more exciting, and it gives you more options, We saw many new Fairy-type Pokemon introduced, as well as just existing Pokemon naturally fitting into the Fairy role. With Light, I don't feel there would be as many eligible Pokemon, and it would be much more forced. So, Fairy just trumps Light, and we don't need Light because of it. Also, when we're looking at the Light typing, it wouldn't bring too much else to the table, Fairy has all these cool lore aspects behind it, that it's weak against steel because cold steel burns fairies, and we also have just fire resistance and all these other interactions. Another thing that shows that the fairy typing is the light typing is look at Yveltal, the death Pokemon of death and darkness, versus Xerneas, the life Pokemon that isn't a light type because it's fairy, because fairy is light instead. Now, one thing that I have seen in the comments, see, they do exist, people do want to see a light type Pokemon even though we already have fairy, is that they will mention ghost types. We have different super effectives that could come into play as well. That with the light typing, we could justify dragons, I feel. That the way that dragons break down in some RPGs and stuff is that light can beat out dragons depending on how dark and evil their representation is. So we could still have that. Maybe the immunity could make sense on light typings if it existed instead of fairy. So that could happen as well. But when it comes to the light typing, it will have a super effective against ghost that we don't have with fairy. Now, I don't see light being super effective against fighting, and the balance would be all different. What I really like about the fairy typing, though, is that it brought poison back into the meta. Poison wasn't getting a lot of play, but now it actually is a threat. It actually has something that you have to play against, but it also plays really well against the strength of fairies. With the light typing, I feel that just throwing weaknesses at things would be its best aspect, and that really wouldn't be too good for balance. That, okay, ghost types, they don't really need a nerf type-wise, that I feel ghosts are very balanced, even though they can be powerful, even though they do have some frustrating aspects to it, there's more to balance than just which type is weak and super effective against another type. That there's the amount of usable Pokemon, it's how powerful those individual Pokemon are, their type combinations as well. So I think that just having light type, unnecessary nerf to dark, unnecessary nerf to ghost types, and it didn't really, I just don't see it working out as well as the fairy typing did, and since we have fairy, we can't have light, so let's get on to the next impossible type. Next up, I want to look at the magic typing, because people think magic could be a good typing. The problem is, I think it's like light, in that it just shares too many similarities with psychic, Let's go and look at potential magic Pokemon. I feel Hypno, I feel that's a good one. Delphox is obvious, Delphox, way too obvious for the magic typing. There's even the magician ability, so there are magical things involved. But when we look at the world of Pokemon, magic wouldn't be as impressive. You know, we have fire-breathing lizards, we have Pokemon that can harness pure electricity, we have mythological creatures, we have legendaries that rule the world, we have dragons. Magic isn't that exciting by comparison, and also we already have the psychic typing. I feel that psychic powers are true magic. That every magician wishes they could be psychic, that they could truly read minds, that they could perform these crazy telekinetic abilities. So I feel that magic is just what psychic is in the Pokemon world, and if not, psychic's actually cooler. Like, real psychic powers trump magic every day of the week, I feel, or at least, you know, it's so similar that there really isn't much go on. Also, everything would be a magic psychic typing, because it would just be effectively the same thing. I don't see any new Pokemon that could really become the magic typing, so I think that one's out as well. Now, sound. Out of all of these, even though I'm like, you know what, there's not going to be a new Pokemon typing, sound would be the coolest, because there's already interactions with sound and stuff when you think about it. We have the soundproof ability. Substitute doesn't block sound-based moves, so that's why you might notice that a Hyper Voice will hit through your Substitute or even a Snarl or something like that. So these interactions do exist, as well as just having a ton of moves that apply with soundproof or actually count as a sound-based move. So we have something to work with for sure. We also have Hyper Voice, we also have Disarming Voice, we have abilities that work with this, we have Sound Pokemon, we have Boom Burst, that's a sound move right there. There's just a lot that works around, and it would also make these moves and abilities make more sense, because Soundproof would just be sound type moves do not affect this Pokemon, instead of certain moves do not affect this Pokemon, so it would clear up a lot of things right there. And also, it would be a really nice adaptation to the normal typing, I feel. Normal doesn't have any super effective hits, but with the sound typing we can find things that's super effective to maybe one weakness, just like the normal typing, so it would kind of augment the normal typing, especially because there's already a lot of normal types that feel like they would fit in the sound role. Same with like the way that the moves break down. Hyper Voice would become a sound move, so that means the Pokemon that becomes sound typing just carry Hyper Voice with them, same with Uproar, anything like that. So there is a lot that could actually fit into the sound typing. The reason why I don't think it's going to be a typing, I just don't feel that there's enough. Also, I wanted to mention that it wouldn't be immune by Ghost and it wouldn't be immune to Ghost either in that way, that it would just be a more exciting normal type. So I think that that could work out pretty cool. Problems is you create a lot of complications that Pokemon with the Pixelate ability and Aerialate on something like a Mega Salamence, that gets nerfed because Pixelate and Aerialate, they only work with normal type moves. Hyper Voice becomes sound, now you don't get the boost, and now it's not as insane of a ridiculous stab overpowered double hitting move in doubles. So technically balanced, but then you're also nerfing Pokemon like Sylveon and Gardevoir, and other Hyper Voice users might not get as much of a benefit, especially if they're normal type. So that's when you start playing around with things too much. Also, I just don't feel that there's enough Pokemon. You would have to just make the 7th generation more sound-based. You'd have to introduce a ton of sound Pokemon, like how the 6th generation introduced a lot of Fairy-type Pokemon. I mean, there are a few. We can look at the whole Whismur evolutionary line. We could have Zubat, like, you know, Bat-type Pokemon. Noivern's obvious. Chatot. But not really too much after that, honestly, when we break it down. So we could maybe fit in a couple more. However, it would be the least common typing, and introducing something as least common typing, it's kind of hard. Now, I do think sound is the most plausible, but I feel it doesn't have enough real things to make it a typing, even though it does make a lot of sense. So those are my looks at the potential typings that could be introduced in Pokemon Sun and Moon, and why they most likely won't be. That I feel that everything's fine, you know? A lot of people say I'm unimaginative, I'm just like a spoil sport or whatever. I'm trying to look at these things realistically, because when you think about it, you know, Pokemon's amazing the way it is. You don't need to force things that could potentially become unnecessary into it. And, you know, I just mostly wanted to say that Light is fairy typing, and every time I try to argue with someone in the comments about that, it goes south really quick because people don't like being told they're wrong, even though there's really no reason to think Light is a possibility at this point. Now, I could be wrong. There could be something I missed. I was looking at I just literally Googled new Pokemon types, and I was just kind of looking at the charts and things that people were bringing up. So is there a typing that is more plausible than these? I don't know. These seemed like, from what I saw, the most feasible. I know Cyber was a thing, but I think Cyber is kind of like less of a sound. Like, at least sound has feasibility. Sound actually exists in Pokemon already. Cyber is just kind of like, cool, we take the Porygon evolution line. And I think that's it. Maybe Genesect, you know, man-made Pokemon in that regard could work out pretty well. But I think that with the Fairy typing, it did. I'm just repeating myself, but I feel that with the Fairy typing, it brought a really solid balance to the game. I mean, maybe a little bit of tuning over the generations, you know, just buff and nerf some moves, maybe readjust some weaknesses that don't make any sense. Because I mean, Grass and Ice, they need to actually be better. They have too many weaknesses and not enough resistances in some cases. Well, grass resists a lot, just ice is really in a sad state right now, so I think a little bit of balance like that. I don't think they'd have to introduce a new typing to kind of make ice super effective against it, have ice resist it, and then make that typing really broken to where now ice gets viability just to stop out this new thing that was introduced as something really strong. I don't think that that's how Pokemon balance should work, but again, is there another typing? Is there something I missed? Go and comment down below. Also leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and I hope you all have a nice day. So thank you very much for watching.